everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a blessed day. I hope everyone is manifesting their dreams and their goals daily. Today, we will be discussing the California reparations for the descendants of slaves. Yes, I'm going to help us, all of you, to understand what is really going on with the California reparations package. Why is everything taking so long? So I'll be explaining how California became part of the United States to begin with. I'll be explaining how slavery and systematic racism have harmed Africans in America and how the state should respond. We will be discussing the topics of concern and how racism takes place in California today. And where is all the money going to come from to pay out all these reparations? Because all these other races of people are, having a cow. They are having a literal cow thinking that this is going to come out of their weak-ass paycheck, okay? There's a lot of naysayers out there in all races. They stay mad, though. However, nobody had anything to say when reparations was being paid out to these other groups of people. Nobody has anything to say when America sends millions and millions of dollars out of the country to other countries. Nobody has anything to say, They're all good with that. But as soon as you talk about doing something to progress the Black community and to help Black people get out of the ghettos and to no longer be oppressed, then it becomes an issue for every race of people. Hell, even some of our own people have a problem with it. For real. So I had to do my own investigation and dig really, really deep. And, when I start researching, it starts off being one thing and it ends up going way, 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 way back into history. So I get lost in my research sometimes. So everything that I've learned through my research, I'm going to be sharing with you here today. So buckle your seatbelts, get you a snack, get you a hot cup of tea, and let's jump right into it.
The idea is that California has a special and unique obligation to pay our fellow citizens $223,000 for the damage done by slavery.
And there's another proposal in San Francisco to do $5 million.
San Francisco's annual budget is about $14 billion. This proposal would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $120 billion or so dollars. I don't understand the math. They likely don't either. But this would bankrupt the city. You're going to have a revolt.
Why do you think we are going down this path?
California was never a slave state. When I read the Commission's 500-page report, it's comic in its misunderstanding of California history.
This is how 90% of Caucasians feel about Africans in America. In all 50-something states, none of them want to give us reparations. And I just, for the life of me, don't understand, why they want to play these games with us. You don't understand the math, and you think that we don't understand it either. Yes, we do. We understand the math very clearly. How is it that you can't understand it? This is not an algebra equation, honey. It's quite simple, actually. But how about I do the math for you in this video, elementary style, since you don't understand the math? So, family, he feels like we will revolt. It's gonna be a revolt in California if this reparation package goes through. And that's a very interesting choice of words that he picked right there. I'm like, revolt? Let's look at what revolt means. If a large number of people revolt, they refuse to be controlled or ruled and take action against authority, often violent action. You know, like, why would it be violent action? The only reason why it would be a revolt is if the Caucasians and the other races of people start committing, hate crimes against us, which they already do that anyway. And it's past time for you guys to have put out a hate crime bill for black people, because every race of people in this country is anti-black. So I don't, you know what I mean? Like, a revolt, it's past time for a revolt. A revolt is nothing but a revolution. They made it sound real shitty, If you look at the statistics that I'm showing you on the screen, black people, we are the ones getting attacked. We are the ones that the hate crimes are being committed against. Yet they refuse to give us a hate crime bill. But they'll give it to the Asians? What? And then they have not been treated nearby as bad as black people have been treated in the world and in California. So I guess it's time. It's time for a revolution. It's time for a revolt. Since the Caucasians love to deflect, it's quite disrespectful of him to call the 5-page report comical. There is absolutely nothing about this situation comical or funny. It's disgusting that he would even let that come out of his mouth. I just think it's disgusting that we have to go through all this studying bull crap. They didn't have to study how they were going to commit genocide during the greatest Holocaust in history, called the African Holocaust. Well, maybe the African Holocaust was premeditated. I mean, because we all should know that the Europeans learned how to do the slave trade from the Muslim Arabs. The Muslim Arabs committed the worst genocide against northern and eastern African countries. I mean, and they would even raid Western African countries. They did this for a whole 13 centuries without any interruption. They stole African men to work for them, and they would castrate them to ensure that they did not reproduce. The Arabs stole African women so that they could sexually assault them, and then they threw them into human trafficking. Muslim Arabs committed the greatest crimes there could ever be against humanity to the Africans of the northern African countries, called the Arab Muslim slave trade, and is often referred to as the veiled genocide. Because it's so taboo for them to talk about in Africa. I don't understand why. Why is it taboo? I mean, it was also known as the Trans-Saharan trade and the Eastern slave trade. So, yeah, maybe it was premeditated because it was already slavery going on in the worst way. And then the Europeans came along and did even worse. They did even worse with their slaves. It just blows my mind that any decent human being could have that type of mindset to do another human being like these Europeans have did African people. It blows my mind. Like, do you have a conscience? Do you have a heart? Are you human? This shit will forever blow my mind. And for them not to take accountability for the actions of their ancestors and at least try to do their very best to make it right, they're just showing everybody else how they truly are. They're showing their true colors. We already know how they are. But they're just proving us right time and time again. California is basically stalling. The government knows damn well that they owe us for the crimes that they committed against humanity. The crimes against the African slaves and the crimes that are going on present day that are being committed against the descendants of the African slaves. Because I was born and raised in California, and I have some stories. That will probably be part 2 of this. And I experienced racism and discrimination in California. And it literally started when I was in the 4th grade. The 4th grade at school. Yeah. The kids coming to school being racist. And the teacher's not doing anything about it. They're watching it. So, yeah. And when I went, crazy on them, when I snapped finally and go ham, turkey, and cheddar cheese on them, then I'm the problem. Or there must be something going on in the home. And then they want to call CPS. I mean, I got stories for days about how racism and discrimination have destroyed my family. I have stories for days. So, I you know what? I'm going to make a part 2 of this video and tell my story. The United States government, along with California, have been avoiding making an apology to African descendants of slaves and the African slaves. They're avoiding doing this. And they're avoiding it because they're trying to avoid compensation. Listen, we don't want to hear your weak-ass defense. California, we don't want to hear your weak-ass defense. Because all you're doing is deflecting. That's what white supremacy is notorious for doing when it comes to Africans in America. We did not come to this country willingly. We were sold, stolen, kidnapped, and forced to be here. We've been here for over 400 years now. So now this is our home. And we have created our own culture here in America. We don't care about who or what goes into debt. We don't care about your debt. That's not our problem. That sounds like a personal problem to me. You weren't telling all these lies when you paid full reparations to the Native Americans, to the Japanese, and to the survivors and the descendants of the survivors of the Jewish Holocaust. I mean, that don't make any sense. America had nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with Nazi Germany. But yet, America still paid the Jews reparation. That shit never happened on American soil. You weren't talking all this bullshit when you were sending billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine for the Ukrainian war against Russia. And why? Why are you sending them billions and billions when we have a homeless problem over here in this country? I mean, it's getting worse and worse. It really got bad during COVID. And instead of taking care of your own people, you want to send billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine? Please make that shit make sense. Please, make it make sense. So, fuck you. Pay me. Pay me. And I'll take all my money in dollar bills, please. It makes it all the more difficult when they're dividing black people up into states and we have to go after the states that our relatives were from or we are from in order to get reparations. Because the West can cry and claim that they had no parts of slavery. We had no parts of slavery. And so they'll try to wiggle their way out of this to where they don't have to pay black people for the racism and discrimination that they have caused against them. Because in their retarded ass brains, Slavery wasn't legal in these states. So therefore, you guys didn't experience anything bad. We treated you well. We treated you very well. And that just pisses me off when they get to acting like that. Because when Mexico sold California to the United States, there was an agreement. And we're about to jump into this right now. There was a treaty that was signed on February 2nd, 1848, that ended the war between the United States and Mexico. Mexico ceded 55% of its territory, including the present-day states of California, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, and most of Arizona and Colorado, and parts of Oklahoma and Kansas and Wyoming. The treaty called for the United States to pay $15 million to Mexico and to pay off the claims of the American citizens against Mexico up to $5 million. Mexicans in those annexed areas had the choice. You hear that? They had a choice. This is important because they don't even know their own damn history. Hell. Mexicans in those annexed areas had the choice of relocating within Mexico's new boundaries or receiving American citizenship with full civil rights. Now I'll be damned. The United States gained more land from Mexico with the Gadsden Purchase of 1853. Let's watch a video about that.
This is very significant. This is the first time that the United States is engaged in a war of aggression, engaged in a war of foreign territory, actually occupied a foreign capital. And there's a fairly large movement in the United States to go for an all-Mexico policy and annex all of Mexico and bring it in to the United States. So the compromise position is essentially to take over the northern region of what was the nation of Mexico. As a result of the treaty, the states that get brought into the United States are Texas, New Mexico, parts of Colorado and Utah, all of Arizona, and the state of what will eventually become California. And what really happens as a result of the treaty is that Mexico is essentially lopped in half, and the United States takes the half of Mexico that is the least populated, but provides them with a number of resources based on land for the nation as it's developing. It's pretty clear that the federal government knows there's large coal deposits, copper deposits, a large set of resources that will now be available to the United States.
The Gadsden Purchase was an agreement between the United States and Mexico that was finalized in 1854, in which the United States agreed to pay Mexico $10 million for 29,670 square mile portions of Mexico, and later became part of Arizona and New Mexico. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo formally ended the Mexican-American War in February of 1848. But over the next 6 years, there would still be tension between Mexico and the United States. Mexico was trying to still claim land that they had agreed to give to the United States after they lost the war, and still was trying to get America to pay compensation to their people for the attacks of the Native Americans, because the Native Americans will come into Mexico and attack the Mexican people. They wanted America to pay compensation for that. And then you still had Caucasians crossing the Mexican border illegally, just to, incite rebellions in the effort to gain territory of Mexico. But check this out, y'all. Before the Mexican War, and before the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, and before the Gadsden Purchase of 1853, there was a president of Mexico who was Mexican, and his name was President Vincent Guerrero. Guerrero had African blood, and everyone knew it. Mexico also participated and resisted in the transatlantic slave trade. So they were a willing participant too, and they didn't want it to end either. Guerrero was an Afro-Mexican soldier and statesman who became the nation's second president. He was one of the leading generals who fought against Spain during the Mexican War of Independence. On September 15, 1829, President Vincent Ramon Guerrero used the Guerrero Decree prohibiting slavery in most of Mexico. So under the terms of Mexico selling these states to the United States had to agree that there will be no slavery in those states. If the Caucasians had it their way, they would have brought their slaves to this new land. So y'all, they're not fooling me, and I hope they're not fooling you. Like, stop playing with me, Callie. Stop playing with me. Therefore, since they couldn't bring their slaves to the new purchased land, they instead showed discrimination. They showed discrimination and racism with jobs, land, and housing. They created ghettos for the blacks to live in and would not allow them to leave out of those ghettos. They wouldn't allow them to live or buy homes in the white areas. It was very much segregated. And law enforcement would harass blacks daily, trying to keep them in the ghettos and keep them in their area. Hence how the Blood and the Crip gangs were born and created. We had to defend ourselves from the KKK race soldiers, aka pigs, because they were literally like trying to treat us as slaves, harassing us every day, beating us every day. I mean, just for no reasons. And then after a while, they actually start hiring black people as police officers. And those black police officers, instead of trying to go into that system and change it, they went in that system and acted just like them, if not worse. Actually, they did act worse. They brought another whole new definition to the word cooning. And then the issue of mass incarceration began to veer its ugly head. They were just throwing black people in jail. We have so many black people in California prisons. I believe that 90% of the prisons are black people. I can almost guarantee you that. Black people are the largest amount of people in every prison in the United States, but especially in California. They locked our race soldiers up. They locked our race soldiers up. The ones that were but were part of the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party didn't do anything but help the black community. And it also ended up helping the white community out at the end of the day, because that is where the WIC program was created. And so for them to call the Black Panthers a hate crime, or a hate group, should I say, is stupid. It's stupid as hell. Because all they did was defend black people. Defend us against monsters. But you want to call them a hate group. No, the hate group is the KKK. Go do something with them. Go do something with them, because there's plenty of white Aryan race KKK people in California as well. I mean, in Orange County, there is a bunch of them. There's a bunch, and they're skinheads. That's what we call them, skinheads. So those people still reside in California also. So, I mean, California cannot try to hide their hand and act like they're a whole different part of the United States. Like they should be considered their own country. No. Y'all act just like the rest of these people in the United States, like the rest of these white supremacists in the United States. You're no different. You're no different. There's just a lot more opportunity for black folks in California, or at least it used to be that way, because it's not that way now. And there's so much more that I wanted to cover in this video, but it will probably be an hour-long video, and I don't want to make an hour-long video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a part 2. because this topic deserves a part 2. And I'll be discussing all the things that I didn't discuss in this video in part 2. So I would appreciate it if you guys would leave comments down below letting me know, your thoughts and your opinions on the situation, your thoughts and opinions on what I presented to you right now. And please like and share so that my videos can go into the algorithm. And if you have not already subscribed, please do that. Please subscribe. And I will see you guys in probably, next week maybe. Depending on how fast I can get it done. It might be a couple days. But I definitely am doing a part 2 and probably a part 3. Because this, I don't know what's going on. They're supposed to make a decision in July of this year if they are going to agree to the terms of the reparations package that we presented to them. So I want to get this out before that decision is actually made. And in the next video, I'll go over everything specifically that's in the reparations package and where to find it and all that good stuff. Okay? Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.